Our next interview, looking back over the fourth year and into the fifth year, is with Daphne Caine, member for Garff. Has the time flown by?
Yes. It's been a very exceptional year, but in some ways excruciatingly slow, and in others, I can't believe we're here another year on.
Yeah, and we'll come to it in just a second, but I've started by just asking a bit about the COVID thing and how the government in itself did, and your view on that.
I think the Isle of Man response and the position the Isle of Man is in, despite one case now which seems to be contained, I think the Isle of Man government very quickly got on top of its game, protected the Isle of Man, has done a really good job, with one or two notable exceptions which I've picked up on.
Do you want to tell us those are?
Initially the regime for the returning residents, and also in terms of prisoners with COVID and the treatment at prison. But they are small in the scheme of things, but they have a lasting impact and a significant impact on some of the people personally affected. And
the government seem to have their PR together after initially not maybe being on track, do you think?
Yeah, it was a bit shaky, Heath Robinson at the start, and it got very slick. And I think that that brought confidence as well, that the messaging was there, that it was regular and open, and it updated people. And I think the way that the case that has now been found from a test at the weekend, and the way they presented that, immediately going public with it, I think that was all done well. I think the public have confidence in the way the government's handled COVID.
We'll come back to government in part two of this, but anyway, the last year, or even look right back if you want, tell us about your highlights, what you did in the last year or more.
Well, I suppose significantly for me, I had a private member's bill for divorce, dissolution and separation legislation, to modernise it and to take out the fault part of divorce. So it was a good moment for me that completed its passage through both branches.
Took a long time though, didn't it?
Well, no, because I think this time last year we were talking about, I was just about to go into doing the public consultation. Yeah. Then the results were in, I think, around January. Then we had the legislation drawn up. It was gone through, I mean, I must pay tribute to the people who assisted me, Jane Paul Wilson particularly, taking it through the upper chamber into Legislative Council, Hazel Smith, who's a family advocate, whose input has been phenomenal. I mean, it wouldn't have got to this point without her, and Howard Connell, the legislative drafter, who put the bill together for me, but who's also undertaken in retirement to do the rules of court, which is the piece now once the bill receives royal assent. So it is now awaiting royal assent, which I hope will be confirmed in the autumn. And meanwhile and subsequently, Howard Connell has undertaken to do the rules of court, which are the sort of practical administrative side, the rules that govern how the new system will come in. And I'm very hopeful, and I've had several inquiries, actually 2 in the last week, asking when will it be available, and that, you know, people out there it's going to have a direct impact on and is very needed. So hopefully no fault divorces will be available next year, hopefully from January.
Okay, but things always take longer. It just seems we've been talking about it for a long time. That's all. But anyway, what I was looking back at your manifesto, your 16 pages, I think it was. It was quite a lot.
Small.
Yeah. Oh well, but you know, how did you feel you did on those things? Because you laid down some markers there, of course. Yeah,
there's some things that I suppose the area that we've not got in, and in terms of legislation, that we need more improvements to employment law, to family benefits, to put us on a par with other jurisdictions. I think in terms of climate change, I think that's come so much further forward. And for me, I suppose going back to last year, there was the education debate where I was pressing for a review into the Department of Education, and that motion was defeated. And yet, here we are 1 year on, and the Beeman's independent review is ongoing, and the report awaited into the structure and the functioning of the Department of Education, Sport and Culture. So I'm looking forward to that with anticipation, and also, you know, for upcoming legislation.
Well, we'll deal with part, you know, looking forward a bit, but I was just trying to hone in on, did you achieve what you wanted to achieve?
I think the things that come out and things that come higher up the priority has to have been flood mitigation, working with Laxey since the 1st of October, months and months and months. The flood strategy was one of the things that I had in my manifesto that hasn't had the focus, it hasn't had the joined up nature to be certain and give confidence to people that the measures are being pushed forward. But I think from discussions with Martin Perkins and myself have had constantly reporting concerns of constituents from all parts of Laxey and the constituency, the wider constituency of Garff, and to have confidence now. The independent audit report, many people have issues with some of the accuracy of the points made and the timeline given in that, which don't reflect what the reports on the ground and what people feel. But overall, what people want to see is some sort of support for residents who face flooding. And it's not going to just impact Laxey. The report identifies that this is wider, it's across coastal communities of the Isle of Man. There are 4,000 people at risk of flooding.
So that's the big topic, is it, you think?
This is the
one big thing that draws
this
everyone
has been a big issue for the constituency in the last year.
Well, you've got two versions here, because you've got the water coming down, which has caused problems, but then you've got this great sea wall issue as well. So you've got it on two levels.
Well, we've got the river water, we've got the surface runoff and the sea wall.
So you've got three.
And at the end of September, the Manx Utilities DOI are having a presentation of a new scheme. Now we think it might be multi-million-pound scheme that is a holistic solution for the whole of Laxey, including seawall solution that might be more acceptable to residents.
Did they like your seawall?
They are moving on
you make some
different.
Nice picture.
I did an artistic impression of it. They are taking on ideas and they're listening to the community. And I think a significant moment came in this. In the sort of people power of Laxey, in the Manx Utilities deciding not to go to appeal on the sewage works. So between the sewage works, the seawall, the flooding issues.
They haven't quite said no to it. In that interview I did, there was that they left the door open slightly. I got the impression.
But they had always assured the community that they wouldn't progress a proposal that didn't have the support of the community. And there is a drive that we do want to see, clean sea water in the whole of Garff, and that means Buldrine as well. And I think that residents are very open to the department and the Manx Utilities coming back with a holistic solution.
Do you accept that there has to be something done? I mean, clearly the seawall has to go in at some level, which is going to cause an impact to everybody on the views.
The seawall, the harbour wall, yes, but the seawall doesn't need to go at the sea. The seawall could come the other side. It's do you protect the highway? Do you protect the residents? Do you maintain what is beautiful about Laxey and the heritage aspects of a tourist amenity and an ancient harbour?
And anything else that's combined at the whole of Garff, or issues that you still
Well,
think
the other things are speed limits the issue of speeding, but basic things for the whole of the island, the road surfaces, just maintaining the roads and not having potholes. Now, we are quite fortunate to roads, the road to Cornay, Port Cornay, and the Renab road coming off that, beautifully resurfaced. I mean, like a ribbon. Doon Loop Road not so good, and issues on the main road, but this is also linked with the maintenance of the gullies and the ditches. So I think there's been a good step forward in the last year or so, but it has been constant emailing and supporting and responding to the Garff residents. Have
you worked with Martin Perkins? I mean, you do seem like two peas in a pod on most things. In fact, you tell me otherwise. Have you disagreed on things, or have you almost been unified?
I think I'm more libertarian in terms of citizens' rights to freedom and not have every aspect of their life governed by government. I think we are separate on a political issues, and so I'm probably more I don't know, but socialist side of things. And also I've been pressing much more, I think, on the green issues and the environment.
You haven't had a big fallout on
not at all.
On one side and the other side.
Not at all. I mean, Martin's a very intelligent, good person. We get on really well, and it just benefits us and the constituents if we work together and ensure that they're aware of what each other's doing and we don't duplicate. Because it's a benefit to have two MHKs, and we have our separate areas, whereas Martin is now planning chair. Obviously he can't comment on any planning matters. I think it benefits the constituency that we have our own interests, but we also work together for the benefit of the constituency.
And I mean, he's involved at the minute with the national thing about wanting an airline. I mean, do you follow him on that, or is that something?
No, I absolutely support it. I think the issue of Airlinx, the issue of our healthcare, the issue of education, I think that these are fundamental to the future of the Isle of Man.
And do you see yourself working together, in the future? I mean, you wouldn't stand together or anything like that? You're just two?
No. We are two independents. We stand for different things. We probably have different priorities. But at a constituency level, we both want the best for the constituency.
And how do you kind of split your national to local sort of issues?
Local issues are national issues. Flood strategy is national, road infrastructure is national, schools, the achievement, the structure of education and the structure of healthcare, climate change, all those things. They impact at local level, but they are national issues.